Hi, thanks for stopping in today. I wanted to talk to you about confidentiality, privacy, and informed consent so that you can decide if you want to attend counseling at our school. So, to start with, I wanted to hit on privacy. Privacy is super important part of counseling. And so, when you come to counseling, we would send you a pass at the beginning of the day for you to leave whatever class that we called you out of. So, one week you might miss biology, and the next week you might miss a little bit of PE. That way, you're only missing one class each week, and it's a different class. It would just be a normal looking pass, and it would say to come to the counseling center. And so you would then come to the counseling center at that time and meet with me in my office. We would do this weekly. And if you wanted a pass that didn't say where you're going, we could also do that if you wanted to keep it more private. And along those lines, nothing would be shared with the administration, your peers, or other counselors when it comes to confidentiality. So I'll talk about confidentiality a little bit more. So when we meet one-on-one, things will be kept between us and you can say what you want to say to me. There are a few exceptions. And so the first exception is if there's a possibility of you hurting yourself, whether that be harm or suicidal ideations, that is something I'd have to report to keep you safe. Another is if I think that there's abuse going on with you or with an elderly person, I would have to also report that because safety is our number one priority. The final reason would be if there was a court order to release information. That's another time that I can't keep everything confidential. And so when you're meeting with me, you can be aware of this and share with me what you want to share. But if you feel like you have to hold something back, you can also do that because you'll know what I can keep confidential and what I cannot keep confidential. Besides those few things, everything else will stay between us. And I will also keep track of what is said, the generic things in our meeting as well. So the last thing I want to talk about is informed consent. And so since you're still a minor, I'll have to have your parents sign this informed consent form in order for you to receive counseling. The form lays out many different things about our counseling. It talks about how we meet for 4 to 6 weeks usually, and if you still feel like we haven't met the goals that you're trying to reach, then we'll refer you to an agency that can really help you and help you meet your goals. We'll also talk about termination and what termination looks like. We hit on the benefits and risks of counseling, and so there's many great benefits, and there's also a few risks of different emotions or thoughts that can be stirred up while we're speaking. And then we talk about your goals that you might have. And finally, we talk about how we'll do a quick assessment to learn more about you and your background, your values, and more about your family. And so those are a few things on the informed consent form that we need to have signed before we're able to start counseling. Okay, and now I'm going to talk as if I'm talking to the parents. So thank you for meeting with me today. I wanted to review a few important aspects of counseling before your son or daughter starts counseling with me. And so the first thing I wanted to talk about is privacy. Privacy is very important, and we want to make sure to keep counseling and the times we meet very private. And so I'll send a pass to your student and they can come to my office. They don't have to tell people where they're going. The pass will just let them come right to the counseling center. I will not tell their teachers I'm meeting with them, and it will be kept private, and we'll meet in my office. Sometimes we'll meet in the conference room if there's space in there as well, but the doors will be shut in the conference room, so it'll be private. The next thing I wanted to talk about is confidentiality, and so I will keep things confidential between your son or daughter and myself. It's important that they know that they can confide in me and have someone to listen to and speak to. That being said, there are some times when I will have to break confidentiality. One time is if your son or daughter has suicidal ideations or says that they're hurting themselves. That's a time where I will definitely reach out to you and anyone else I need to keep your son or daughter safe. Another time that I have to break confidentiality is if your son or daughter says that they are being abused or neglected, or they speak about elder abuse. That's another time that I have to tell the right people in order to keep everyone safe. Also, if your son or daughter says they're harming someone else, I need to break confidentiality in that moment. The last time I would have to break confidentiality is if there's a court order to release information. Besides that, I will keep information confidential between the student and myself for our counseling sessions. And finally, I wanted to talk about informed consent, which is a document that I'll have you sign so that you know about the counseling sessions we'll have. We'll usually meet for between 4 and 6 weeks, depending on how your student is doing and progressing in their goals. If I feel like after 6 weeks, your student still needs help meeting their goals, I'll refer you to a mental health therapist who can help them. Um, in addition, this informed consent talks about the risks and benefits of counseling. There's some great benefits and also a few risks to be aware of. It also talks about termination and how this is completely voluntary and your son or daughter can end counseling at any time, but also what termination looks like after 6 weeks of meeting. We'll also do a quick assessment of background at the beginning, which is covered in the confidentiality form, where I'll learn more about your students' values, beliefs, cultural background, and family of origin. And so those are just a few things I want to talk to you about today. Thanks for meeting with me.